name's Mitchell, and I came home to Memphis March 28th of 2011. And it's strange to say I came home to Memphis then, because I'd never been here before. The day before I got out of federal prison, just south of Petersburg, Virginia, or just south of Richmond, Virginia, in Petersburg. And I had been in prison for 12 and a half years at that point. And I followed my sister here. We're all here now, this is home. But I think of this story, the working title in my brain is, "Welcome to Memphis, motherfucker." And I didn't get to go straight home. I had to go to the halfway house, which is down on Winchester. And you think there's crazy rules in prison. I mean, you probably think that if you don't know anything about prison. There are, but there are even crazier rules in the halfway house. Mostly designed, I think, to make you wish you had stayed in prison. So, they're logical rules. The big one that affected me was you were allowed to have a car, but you weren't allowed to buy a car. So, like, if I just happened to have a car sitting around from 12 and a half years ago, I was welcome to use it. Otherwise, I was not welcome to go buy one. The other way to get a car in that case was a family member could loan you a car and put you on their insurance and provide a notarized letter saying that you were an authorized user of that car. And what that meant was I had to sneak out on time that I was supposed to be somewhere else and find the first car I could find and buy it and have my sister put it in her name and give me a letter saying that I could use her car. And so in my mind, I wanted, a cheap, old luxury car. So, I'm thinking like an old Lexus, an old Infiniti, something that's basically a Camry or a Sentra, but with leather seats. So I called this hoopty wholesaler and told him what I was looking for, and one day he called me and he's like, "I got the car for you," and I'm like, "Great, I'll be over there as soon as I can." And I got over there and paid this guy $3,000 and drove away with my 2000 Saab. Biggest piece of shit. That car nearly, it broke me. Just one thing after another broke on that car, and I was working a $7.50 an hour job, trying to keep this expensive Swedish piece of shit running, and trying to pay my rent, and trying to live. And it just got really hard financially, and to the point where one of the guys that I'd met in the halfway house, he's part of the Gangster Disciples here in Memphis, he said, "Hey, I got this buddy down in Mississippi, he's got a junk yard, he's got a car crusher, give me $300, I will disappear that car for you." And I thought about it, I seriously thought about it, and very stupidly, I told my sister that I thought about it, and she freaked out, because the car's in her name, it's on her insurance, and I'm telling her that I'm gonna go commit insurance fraud. And that kind of put a strain on our relationship. And meanwhile, I'm putting this car in the shop all the time, and now she's on me, and her husband, I think, was on her about getting that car out of her name and into my name. So she really was putting the strong arm on me about that. And the hard part about doing that I don't know if y'all remember, a few years ago, you used to have to go through the inspection station, to register a car, or to do anything with a car, you had to get this inspection. And the engine light on that Saab would not go off. The car might run all right, but that engine light was always on, and that's an automatic fail. So I couldn't change the car. I was working nights at the Madison Hotel. Now, I'm out of the halfway house at this point and have my first apartment on Broad Avenue, right at Carpenter. And this is back in 2011, so I was a little ahead of the curve. And my car was in the shop at this point, and I came home from work. I worked nights at the Madison Hotel, take the bus home, and walking up the stairs to my apartment, I can see the doors smashed in. And I got up there, and everything was gone out of my apartment. I mean, the people, they took the food out of my refrigerator. So everything was stolen. I had just taken out a renter's insurance policy through Progressive. The check for my first payment had not cleared the bank yet. They had to pay the claim, but they kicked me off their insurance. They also blackballed me. I couldn't get insurance from anybody else. But because my car was in the shop at that time, keys to the car were in the apartment.
Nice.
So I'm talking to Progressive, the renter's insurance, and at that time, Nationwide was my car insurance at that time, telling both of them, look, you know, I had this break-in, the burglars have my car keys, they're gonna come back and get my car, so I think insurance ought to cover me rekeying the car. And neither one would do it. Progressive say they didn't cover my car, and my car people said, you know, we'll cover you if they steal it, but until then. So 2 weeks later, they came and stole my car. And the only thing I could think was, thank God. I'll take the little bit of money that insurance is going to give me and buy a little Honda Civic or something. And the cops found the fucking thing. And it was even more messed up, of course. So, and now my sister's totally freaking out. I'm taking you off our insurance right now, and you may not drive that car until you have your own insurance and until you register. And meanwhile, my check for all my stuff comes from Progressive. And the good folks at Central Automotive, who were my mechanics at that time, and they are good people, they were like, okay, you know, here we fixed the stuff that was just broken by the car thieves. If you want us to try to fix that engine light, the first thing that we're gonna try is gonna be like $1,200. And we're not sure that that's gonna fix it. And if that doesn't fix it, the next thing we have to try is gonna be like $6,000.
Jesus Christ!
And I have this check for like $6,000 from Progressive. And I'm thinking, roll the dice on the car, or get my stereo back, and I really want my stereo. And I found speakers that matched the speakers that were stolen from this guy in Maumelle, Arkansas. So I said, fuck it, and went to buy my stereo equipment back. And driving home from Little Rock, about Forest City, I looked down at the dash, and that engine light was off. And it was like 3:30 in the afternoon, and the inspection place closes at 4:30. And I'm on probation, so it's like, just getting a speeding ticket can put me in front of a judge, and I'm like, speed up, slow down, speed up, but I gotta make that inspection while that light's off. And I went in there like on 2 wheels at 4:29 and made it through that inspection, and that was my welcome to Memphis.